What is up, everybody? Welcome to the channel. And of course, rest in peace, Chuck Norris. This video talking about heroes, my top screen heroes. And we have a hero, a legend that passed away earlier today, Chuck Norris. I mean, the first movie I ever saw him in was Breaker. Was on VHS. We all know him from Walker, Texas Ranger. In the 90s, he was on those infomercials selling that exercise equipment. I cannot remember the name of the equipment. I think it may have been Bowflex, but him and golly, was it Christy Brinkley? I think he used to come on late at night anyway, during late at night anyway. But rest in peace to him. And so this video I'm doing today is about my top heroes and heroines as well. But the thing about it is that I tried to stay away in this video from superheroes because that would have been so easy to put. So these individuals are individuals who, I found that are not necessarily, they're not like your quote unquote, like Marvel, DC, anything like that. These are just heroes and heroes in the sense. So let's talk about what qualities, what traits, what make you a hero. And of course, you got to start off with courage. You're facing fear and overcoming it. It's a strong moral compass. They got to stand for something. They got to have, and it doesn't necessarily have to be traditional. I mean, I think of somebody, when you think of the non-traditional, you think more of the anti-heroes. You look at somebody like Omar from The Wire, the man has a code. He believes every man should have a code. Like, matter of fact, Omar, though he's a criminal, he will not put his gun on anybody that's not in the game. So, like, they may not necessarily be, your classic hero type, but at the same time, everybody has a code. Everybody should have one. Relatability, all the flaws, all the doubts, all the insecurities, as any of us. We love seeing that in our heroes. That makes them very relatable. Growth is another good thing. A great hero changes. They learn, they fail, and they evolve. And of course, sacrifice. They are willing to give things up, such as comfort, safety, reputation, for the greater purpose. Sacrifice is what often transforms a character into a hero. Also, agency, a man of action. They're not sitting on their hands when things need to get done. It's time to get active. It's time to get busy. They making moves and getting things done. Also, empathy, and also a worthy challenge. They got to be challenged. They got to have, usually, they have that villain or foe or situation that challenges them. It's easy to be a hero or anything where there's no challenges around, but the cream of the crop rises, when the challenge is there. Now, why are these traits important? For heroes and heroines, they resonate with us because they reflect the best and sometimes the most vulnerable. They show us what could be, even if we're not there yet. So, with that being said, let's get into the first hero I have on the list. And this may be a hero that a lot of you may not even ever considered, but I got to go with Ben from Night of the Living Dead. Ben is probably the first Black hero, respectable character, not just hero, but respectable character, probably I could think of in a film, because, back in the day, they had us jucking and jiving. Oh, Mr. Charlie. Let me shine your shoes. But, Ben, that was not the case. Not only was Ben a respectable character, but he was the hero of the story. Ben, he was calm under pressure. He always kept a cool head. Leadership. This man was a natural leader. He took control of the farmhouse and he helped set up the defenses. And as far as courage goes, I mean, he's constantly confronting danger head on with the goddamn zombies coming. He's confronting it head on and often putting himself at great risk to protect others. Now the thing about Ben though, the tragedy of Ben is, the end of the film. Ben survives the night of the living dead, but unfortunately, he is killed by a posse of individuals who mistake him as one of the undead.
Hey, yo, what the
Now, the thing about Ben's death, if you go back, a lot of people interpret this as being a commentary on racial violence and systematic failures of that time. And I believe that. I believe that that interpretation, that is a valid and it is a true interpretation. So Ben from Night of the Living Dead, I'm telling you guys, that's definitely one I know a lot of people never bring up. Even when we get to Black History Month and we talk about like Black characters, nobody ever talks about Ben from Night of the Living Dead. So I got to give this man his respect. Salute to you, sir. And moving on to the next hero on my list.
And understand that Terminator is out there. It can't be bargained with. It can't be reasoned with. It doesn't feel pity or remorse or fear. And it absolutely will not stop. Ever. Until you are dead.
All right. So you guys saw right there the father of the future, aka Kyle Reese from Terminator. So Kyle Reese is a battle-hardened survivor. Reese grew up in the post-apocalyptic world dominated by Skynet. He spent his youth in death camps, and just his qualities as a hero is Kyle is very resourceful. So, check it. This man comes from the future, lands in 1984 with nothing. He's literally in his birthday suit, naked. Excuse me. And is able to hold his own against a T-800. He's able to hold his own against Arnold Schwarzenegger's Terminator in 1984 with all their primitive weapons. Kyle embodies the virtues of the classical hero. Excuse me. He's willing to risk everything, and in this, he literally risked all of it, his entire life, just to protect Sarah Connor. The man was mission oriented. He was very selfless, and he like I said, sacrifice. Kyle Reese embodies that. And the thing about Terminator is, and Kyle Reese's performance, like I said, it's a great performance. I'm upset that Michael Biehn, he should have been bigger than what he was, the guy who played Kyle Reese. I mean, he's had some classical performances from the 80s throughout the 90s. I just always thought this guy should be bigger than he was. But to me, Kyle Reese is a guy who's, like I said, a hero who I think, low-key doesn't get the credit that he deserves. And Kyle Reese is definitely one of my favorite, one of my favorite heroes of screen. So with Kyle Reese out of the way, let's move on to the next.
Get away from her, you bitch.
Yeah, you saw it. You better get away from her, you bitch. Yes, none other than Sigourney Weaver's Ellen Ripley. Ripley, I guess if Jennifer Lawrence tells you, if we're to believe Jennifer Lawrence, she's the first female action hero. But Sigourney Weaver is her, along with Sarah Connor. Those are your top, heroines. The ones who started, the ones that go to, if you want to do it successfully, are these two. And her character, Ripley, is just driven by courage. She's no soldier. She's a civilian, but she's got as much guts and determination as any of the Marines. I'm focusing more on the second movie, but Ripley as a whole, though. But anyway, she's ready to get active. She's ready to get busy. And the thing about it is that makes her so great is she's not the modern day's consideration of a strong female character. The girl boss, Mary Sue, 120 pounds, beating up 250-pound guys in a single breath, and is a man hater. Oh no, that is not the case with Ellen Ripley. For one, she works side by side with the men. She's not a perfect character. And the thing that makes her strong, where these modern movies make their mistake is, they think to make a woman, quote unquote, a strong female character, you just make her a man and give her a, shave half her hair off and just make her insufferable. And that's not the case. The thing that makes Ripley so strong is being feminine, her femininity. When she goes into that nest, that pit of hell, to get Newt out of there, it's that connection she made. The mother, her being a mother, going in there to go get her, and ironically enough, it's mother against mother in that scene. You have the queen alien and trying to protect her babies, and Ridley's going in to get her surrogate baby Newt. That's the thing that makes her a strong female character. And in that film, how they love to kill the family and all that, we start seeing a family forming in that movie. We have Hicks, Ripley, and Newt. We have this family unit that is forming. So, like I said, Ellen Ripley, definitely on the Mount Rushmore. Not just, you could put her up there, Mount Rushmore of action here. You could argue a case for putting her up there, but she definitely is one of my favorite heroes of all time, and people of today's time that are responsible for making art and cinema. This is what you need when you want to construct a female character. So moving on from Ellen Ripley, we go on to our next character.
I want this man as much as Creasy does.
He'll deliver more justice in a weekend than 10 years of your courts and tribunals. Just stay out of his way.
I plan to. I will even help him if I can. But I'd like to understand him. Give me that.
Peter Ramos. It's a number to you, one more dead, but a number.
What was she to Creasy then?
She showed him it was all right to live again.
And the kidnappers who took that away, huh?
And they're going to wish they never touched a hair on her head.
So yes, next on this list is none other than John Creasy, played by Denzel Washington in Man on Fire. One of his best performances in the 2000s. It's often not really talked about. Like you mention it, people go, "Oh yeah, man, I love Man on Fire," but they often don't talk too much about that character. At least I don't ever hear anybody talking about it. But I love the character, and what makes Creasy's character so great, his hero arc is an arc of redemption. The redeemed hero, the broken man, because when we meet him, he is a broken man, an ex-CIA operative he's in this awful state of self-loathing. Like he doesn't have a reason to live. Like there's one point in the film when he takes the job that was set up by Christopher Walken where he's thinking of he's going to do it. He nearly does, and the weapon malfunctions. And they have a conversation about, the bullet never lies. The bullet never lies. And so this is a guy who's suffering from everything he did for the company and serious PTSD that he has to deal with. But fortunately for him, like I said, this is something that could be so relatable, not on the scale like we would suffer what he's been through, but the chance at redemption and being in a dark place and being pulled up to the light. And that's what happens with Creasy, his character. And it's the relationship between him and the character Lupita, played by the great Dakota Fanning. And she's one of the best child actors of all time. She does an amazing performance in this movie, but it's her character that awakens his humanity. And he becomes a father figure protector, more of a father to her than her own father. And you see throughout the movie the turn, he's really standoffish and there's no emotions. And they develop that relationship. It's a beautiful relationship, and she restores his will to live. And once she's taken from him, oh man, Creasy is, like I said, he's a man on fire. He's on a rampage. And like I said, his hero's journey, his arc is one of redemption and sacrifice. She brings him from the darkness, he comes to the light, and he ultimately sacrifices himself for her. And that's what a hero does. He sacrifices himself for a greater purpose or a greater good, and he does that for Lupita. And and it's something else before we go on to the next one. I use a line from this movie all the time. So, I've been sharing with you guys. I got, I have 6 kids, 5 of them are littles, like they live at home. My oldest is an adult who's actually getting married next month. But when they don't want to go to bed, I use the line every time from this movie when Denzel tells the guy, I wish that you had more time. That I use that all the time. My kids, they're probably wondering if they ever watch this video, kids, this is where Dad got that from. Got it from Denzel from Man on Fire, John Creasy. So John Creasy, guys, definitely one of the great, at least for me, one of my favorite heroes of all time. So moving on to the next.
Murderers.
Traitors. You would call upon them to fight. They believe in nothing. They answer to no one.
They will answer to the King of Gondor.
All right, next on the list is the King Gondor, Aragorn, or Elisar, if you want to call him that. But Aragorn, this is a character, like, definitely love this character because though he has this background, he's this kingly character. He's very empathetic to those in lower station, and like how he cares for the hobbits, despite being this king and this heir to this throne. He's humble. That's a lot of what we need today. A lot of people that are leaders or whatever, just there's a lot. That is one trait that is missing in this world, is being humble. Being humble and low key, but definitely being humble. And he's humble. Also, he struggles with doubts. I mean, he's full of doubt. Unsure of himself, just like us. Like I said, he's this guy who, is a king. He's reluctant because he worries about the consequences of what happened to those who had it before him. And so definitely love that. And then his character, one of the traits we talked about a good hero is growth. And we get that in Aragorn's story. He goes from a ranger. He goes from ranger to becoming a leader. And then at the end, he takes the mantle of a king. So he has this development. Nothing is given to him. He works his way all the way to reaching that goal. And that's the beautiful thing. That is a great message for all of us to strive for in life. Don't expect things handed to you. This guy could have just took the throne, but he worked for it. He earned it. And that's the thing about it. Like, he earned it. And like I said, some of the other qualities, sacrifice. Countless times through this story, he's putting his life on the line. He sacrifices a life with the love of his life to secure this throne. To have that happen, he has to overcome one of the greatest threats the world has ever known, and he does it. He meets it head on. And he's courageous. He's a man of action. But like I said, more importantly, he's a humble guy. And, he gains respect from others through quiet authority and quiet command, rather than force. Some people, like in sports, we'd always say there's some guys on a team that are vocal leaders. And some guys, they just get your respect with their play, earn the respect with your play. I was that kind of guy. Like, I wasn't a rah kind of guy. I just, I felt I became a team captain, and it was people just, I was a good player and they nominated me a captain. It wasn't that I was the most vocal. And so, yeah, like I said, Aragorn, one of the best. Now, some people may argue, he's kind of a superhero because fantasy, but no, I'm keeping him. I'm keeping him on this list. Aragorn is definitely deserving of this list as one of the best heroes on screen. So moving on to my last pick on my list. So let's get to it.
My name is Maximus Decimus Meridius, commander of the armies of the North, general of the Felix Legions, loyal servant to the true Emperor Marcus Aurelius, father to a murdered son, husband to a murdered wife, and I will have my vengeance in this life or the next.
Yeah, you heard it right there. Maximus Decimus Meridius. This guy's my favorite hero, period. Like, even if I added superheroes to the list, this is my favorite hero of all time. Maximus Decimus Meridius, played by Russell Crowe, the amazing movie Gladiator. Hell, I remember when this movie came out, it would have been going into my senior year in high school. I think this came out spring maybe of my junior year. I worked at a movie theater during that time. And I remember me and we watched that movie probably 7, 8, 9 times in the theater because it's just so great. If I see the movie on TV, I'm watching it. You know, I watch it at least 2 or 3 times a year. You know, that's how much I love the movie and the character. So to talk about Maximus, I mean, why he resonates, because Maximus is a compelling, because he's both mythical and relatable. He's a man who lost everything, but yet refused to lose himself. You know, think about that. You know, this man lost his wife and son and could easily have given up. And there were times where he was about to, but he didn't. You know, that mental strength, that stoicism. Stoicism is something I lean on heavily. And he definitely showed the principles of stoicism in this movie. And his strength just isn't physical. It is of moral, emotional, and spiritual. That combination makes him one of cinema's most enduring heroes. I mean, I'll have to admit, it's true. It's a fact. It's a fact. I mean, that right there does it. And like I said, can't say enough about Russell Crowe's performance. One of the performances of the ages, you know, one of the best of all times. And one of the other things I talked about was, in a hero, you got to have a moral code. And Maximus is somebody who is honor bound. He is defined by his unwavering moral compass. Even when Rome's political world rots around him, he refuses to bend to the corruption or fear. His loyalty to Marcus Aurelius is absolute, and his refusal to serve Commodus stems from his principle and not pride. You know, and not to mention, he's a man of action and a natural leader. You look at the scene in the arena, how he takes command. You can even go back to when he has his first match with Proximo. And, you know, he takes command then. And like I said, he takes command in the arena. He tells them, if we all want to live, we have to fight as one. And everyone falls in line. Even a guy says, hey, I used to serve with you. So he's definitely somebody that can be trusted. You know, he's a trusted general. And like I said, he's cool, calm, and collective under pressure. And he's deeply respected by soldiers. I mean, who wouldn't want to follow this guy? Who would want to follow this guy in the battle? I mean, you know, it is what it is. And so, guys, I just wanted to, you know, it's a video, like I said, I have been planning on doing, but I wanted to talk about it. And I know, get in the comments, tell me how wrong I am. Tell me your list of screen heroes. Stay away, if you can, from superheroes. You know, that's why I did. I did my best to stay away from superheroes, but just heroes, regular people for the most part. Wink, wink. But I love to hear what you guys think about this. And guys, like I always say, if it's for 1 minute, 5 minutes, or the whole damn video, I appreciate you taking time every day to view my content. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe, smash the like, get in the comments, and tell me what you think. I love to hear your favorite heroes. So with that being said, it's your boy P signing off, and guys, I'll see you in the next one. Take it easy.